Everybody, I'm gonna say this smoothly because I got a smooth guy on the channel. Man, let me tell you how smooth this brother is. He's so smooth that when you want to have an appointment with him, he posts his calendar online. You look and see when you see some free time, and then you put yourself in there. I said, man, I ain't never done that. Man, that was too cold. That took the oh man, I said, man, that high-tech stuff, my man is that cold-blooded, and he be doing these kind of things for strangers to mentor their lives. This is his angle. I'm sure he's showing them some of that high-tech stuff. This is his angle, putting everybody up to snuff on how it goes in America today. You know, I'm Anthony Brogdon, and so what's happening, people, is that actually I'm doing a movie called Foot Soldiers. It's about a teenager growing up without his father, and he gets a mentor, and it changes both of their lives. And so as a result, I got to thinking, let me interview some mentors so I could promote them. So I'm gonna put the name in the film and the website. So when you sitting there watching it, you be like, man, I need to do that. I got an extra hour a month, extra hour a week, whatever, to be a part of changing some lives. And so I'm sure, watch, he gonna tell you something that's gonna make you think twice of how important it is, because mentorship is the answer. So come on, young man, tell us your name. Give us, you rap to us. Tell us how it go, and I got a few questions.
Anytime I get an invitation to appear anywhere, talk to anybody about something that I love, is always an honor to be invited. So I want to give you some flowers, my brother, for the work that you're doing in creating this platform and telling stories that need to be told, especially those stories that center Black people and what we're doing to improve our own lives, because contrary to popular belief, nobody's coming to save us, as it's been said before, and we got more than enough in both our history, our DNA, our intellect, our understanding, our tools, our resources, and our strategies to right every wrong that's been done to us and continues to be perpetrated against us in these current days and times. So with that, I'm excited anytime I get to be in a space with a brother such as yourself. So I'm Sadiq Ali. When we talk about bringing the village to life and operationalizing a lot of these things that we talk about, mentoring is as close to a silver bullet as we're going to get as it pertains to changing the trajectory of our communities and recapturing the glory of our communities. And
how long you been doing this?
Yeah, so in the mentoring and youth development space, officially probably about like the last 10 years or so.
What does mentor mean to you? What is that? What do you do to mentor? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a great question. Mentoring has like a lot of different definitions. Like the formal definition, right, is like it could be a structured or unstructured relationship in which there's some sort of transferring happening. I would say some sort of transferring happening. And I like this broad definition because traditionally mentoring was really like almost very one-sided, right? Where you had like this old person and they just like poured all their knowledge and wisdom into this young person. But, sort of our current understanding of people and young people and youth development says that, and this, Brother Anthony, from talking and doing your work, people that mentor, they're changed and improved as much or more than the young people they're working with.
Yeah.
So this idea that we have to have a transfer, it has to be bi-directional, multi-directional. Like, so when I'm spending time with a young person, guess what? Like, I'm not just like this wise old person. They're pouring into me just like I'm pouring into them. So
I love it.
About the transferring of love and relationship and along the way, some skills and how we see the world. And, through this relationship building, Lord willing, we can make the world a little bit better.
I love it. One of the things that happens, and I guess I'm taking liberty in saying this, But you know, sometimes men don't know how to be, let me say this, soft to another man. You know, when I say
It's real.
soft, I mean soft like, hey, I like you, guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you I like you, guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by soft. I don't mean
Yep.
nothing else to it than that. How does a brother who and I go back to even the early days when we talked about with the fathers and the what have you, that thing was, I'm a whooping into you. You know, you know, that kind of thing. How does somebody become soft to another guy?
Yeah, no, great
I don't know
question.
how to add. Soft ain't the right word, but let's
No,
go with it.
I think my brother, you're defining what today we would call being vulnerable.
There you go.
How do we practice vulnerability
There you
with
go.
each other, which is an essential ingredient to mentoring. Like there's no easy answers, but what I will say is this: like, number one, it's an important ingredient. You can't have any healthy relationship with a young person, a peer, a brother, your blood brother, or just somebody you consider a brother or a friend, without being willing to be vulnerable.
Okay.
And you asked about how, so I would give a couple of like tips in there, and I would say, like, first and foremost, you have to wrap your mind around it. Like, first you have to just acknowledge it. I think that's the first step. Like, you have to acknowledge and wrap your mind around the fact that you will never have a healthy relationship if you don't know how to be vulnerable, if you don't learn to be vulnerable. That's number one. I think number two is you have to get comfortable with and realize that there is a possibility you can get your feelings hurt by being vulnerable. So I think,
oh yeah,
right? So I think the first step is understanding that no relationship is complete without vulnerability. Number two is you have to like get ready. And again, just having it in the back of your mind, I could get hurt in doing this. And then, so once you acknowledge that, then it makes it a little bit easier to share.
All right.
And then the third thing I would say, bro, is that we got to practice almost like progressive sharing. Progressive sharing. And what I mean by that is, like, it's impossible to expect somebody that's like very closed off. They're like very private, right? They like a box, right? They compartmentalize, they call it.
Okay.
To just all of a sudden meet somebody for the first time and just pour their life story out. That's not a real expectation. That's not realistic.
Okay.
So what I mean by progressive is, like, I would encourage folks to practice, all right, let me share a little bit with myself the first time. And then the next time I share a little bit more. And then as time goes on, I challenge myself to share a little bit more. But don't think you have to share it all and your deepest, darkest stuff right away. That ain't realistic. But can I share with you a story about my childhood?
Yeah, there you go.
Can I start talking a little bit about like my like my parents eventually, and then you look up and again, now you are exchanging, because that's what relationships are, right? It's a value exchange.
I got you. I love it.
So that's what I would say to that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to what you just said though. On that, you could get hurt. Have you been hurt?
Have I been hurt?
Or is hurt mean that I did this and you disappointed me? I'm hurt. What does hurt mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's all of that. I think it's having your feelings hurt. I think it's experiencing the hurt of disappointment, like when somebody maybe didn't meet your either expressed or in the back of your mind expectations. Some hurt can happen.
Yeah.
So with any of those definitions, for me, the answer is definitely yes. But I think the trick of it all is to like not take it out on the next person. You number one, you find always what you're looking for, right? It's like that old story of the traveler. Two travelers go to the same town. The first traveler goes to the town, and I'm gonna come back to that male-female thing, but the traveler, they go to the town, and there's a welcome. There's like a welcome station at the beginning of the town, and traveler one is like, man, how are the people in this town? He's like, well, man, how are the people where you came from? He's like, man, they were great. They were super helpful. Like, they were loving people. He's like, man, you're going to find that the people in this town are the exact same way.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
The other traveler come, he like, man, how are the people in this town? He like, man, how are the people where you came from? He was like, man, they was terrible. They was liars, cheaters, and
Right.
thieves. He like, man, well, you're gonna find the same thing in this town. But they was going to the same place.
Yes, yes, I got you.
So my whole point is like people find what they're looking for is like my first point. My second point is like, and this is circling back to your point around
Right.
Getting hurt and being vulnerable, is like there are broken people in relationships. That's men, that's women, that's kids.
Yeah.
But somebody did that because of there was a breach of trust. There was some vulnerability that was betrayed.
I got you.
So the trick is like not thinking that now everybody is evil because I got done wrong one time or even 2 times.
I got you.
All kids ain't bad because some kid bopped me upside my head and took my purse. Now
Right.
I'm scared of all young black men.
Right.
That's not fair. That ain't right. That's not accurate. So folks have to like not generalize when something bad happens to you. It ain't all men ain't, sugar, honey, iced tea,
Right.
but maybe you ran into some ones that's trying to teach you a lesson about what not to look for.
Right. I got you. I got you.
You think vice versa, right?
I got you.
A man gets in his feelings. And again, all this stuff for me is just like universal relationship stuff.
I got you. On that same note, let's go with this then. What kid did you have to work with the hardest that took, let's say, that took the most to get something out of, and that you finally won?
Yeah.
Let's hear a story like that. There's one coming to mind.
That's interesting. Winning, I never think is the right term, because I read a book one time called The Infinite Game, and relationships. You don't win relationships. And I know you didn't mean that, but I'm just
go with it. Go ahead. Yeah, I like it.
But there are some folks that think like you can win with a young person. You could win, right? But we play an infinite game. Like you don't know where this game is going. Your object of your game, when you're playing an infinite game, is to stay in the game. It's to stay in relationship. And so if there was going to be any winning, is that. So I just give that as an opening. So one story that comes to mind, bro, would be, I was doing some work in a school one time, and I remember like it was yesterday. And I'm like, I'm an extrovert, so I'm like touchy. I don't say touchy feely, but I'm giving that to brothers.
I got
I'm wrapping them up.
I love it.
And I remember like, my first or second session with this group of brothers, with this group of young brothers, students. And I remember, he was like, yo, like, I appreciate it if you don't touch me. And you know what I mean? Like he said it, and I was like, hey, without a doubt, young brother, I got you. Won't happen again. And he didn't even say it like out of malice. It wasn't like it wasn't like a belligerent or an aggressive thing. He was just like, yo, my man, like, I don't really know you like that. I would appreciate it if you don't, if you don't touch me. And all I could do was respect it.
Yeah, right.
But that immediately let me know that young man had gone through something. That maybe he had seen some things or experienced some things. So if I was letting my ego lead the way, I'd be like, man, that kid, man, he ain't no good. He ain't, all the things that we typically think about when anybody rebuffs us, right?
Right. I love it.
But what I saw over time is that, I almost try to go out of my way to be extra gentle with him, to use the word that you used a little while ago.
I got you.
To be extra soft with him, because I almost, it just like intrinsically like pictured like that's what he needed, or that's what he was actually looking for.
I got you.
If that makes sense. So
yes,
over the course of months, I stayed consistent and with that group. And over the course of months, lots of conversations along the way. And there was some brothers, I was immediately like, more, hit it off a lot more, but he was always observant, and we always had great conversations over the next couple of months. And then I remember, this is probably like 8 months later or something like that. And I remember I had walked over to their desk, to their table, and I just did it out of habit. I like put my arm around him, and I was like, damn, like he asked me not to do that. And he was like, man, it's all good, bro. You like, you cool now. But at first, again, I just ain't know you like that.
I got you.
And it took some time for me to get to know you. So, in that moment, I felt proud for just being consistent. I felt
I got
proud.
you. I
So if
love
you
it.
want to say that was a win, that was a
That
win.
was,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
right. Right.
But that's definitely a story that comes to mind. And again, I think it's just about us being consistent as adults. I think one of the biggest myths or one of the lies that we tell ourselves as adults when we do this work is that young people can't hurt our feelings, or that we don't acknowledge it as hurt. It don't register for us as hurt. And we just like, oh, they're just being kids, and we just kind of laugh it off. But I think it's super healthy to acknowledge and then even share with the young people like, yo, that hurt my feelings. That hurt my feelings. And to sit with that hurt for a little bit, because if not, then subconsciously you then end up treating that young person differently or less than. When in reality, it was just a normal relationship thing. I don't care who you with, your feelings gonna get hurt. That could be a homeboy. They don't show up to help you move, or you invited them to a party to have wings and they stood you up. Guys, we get stood up by other guys just like we.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
But you gotta acknowledge that hurt and be like, man, is this a hurtful person or was this a hurtful situation?
Okay, let's stay on that then.
Yeah.
When that guy told you to don't touch it, that hurt you for a second.
It hurt my feelings, absolutely.
Yeah, because you was like, man, what do you mean? I'm not gay, so why you saying that to me? I'm sure you went there with it in your mind, right?
Sure.
But then, did you ever understand why he came that way? Did you ever kind of go and get past that wall that he might have said? I'm not saying give names, but he might have said, man, somebody did touch me.
Sure. Not in that situation, but there's been other situations where absolutely young brothers have opened up about other situations. Yeah. So yeah, we didn't necessarily, need to, because it was like, was understood and got to be, got to be really spoken on in depth. Like he knew I was somebody that he could count on, and he was a super consistent young brother in that program at the time. So
yeah. How about this one? Have you had a kid? I'm gonna stay on this positive tip like this. Have you had one that surprised you the most? One that excelled unbelievably in your mindset?
There's been a bunch. There's been a bunch over the years and I would just give like a composite example, if you will. And what I will say is that it's always the ones, not always, but many times it's the students that question you the most, that challenge you the most verbally, that actually, Brother Anthony, want to believe you the most.
Really?
Absolutely. And those are some of the ones they're studying you. They're not saying a word positively, but they ask you a lot of questions. And it looks like, and it feels like challenges. Like, man, why is this young guy or this young person picking on me or picking with me? But in reality, because again, and I just know this is the case, they've been hurt. They've been let down by adults. And they are looking and trying to determine early as possible if you're going to be more of the same. So they ask you questions, they challenge you deeply. But meanwhile, they're observing your every move and listening to every word so they can believe. They're looking for a reason to have hope and to believe. And if you're not careful, that feels like hurtful behavior from the young person, like they challenging you, they beating you up, or they trying to show you up. When in reality, they want you to be consistent, they want you to be authentic, and they want your walk to match your talk. And if it doesn't, oh man, Sadiq, Anthony, they just like everybody else, man. I'm gonna go ahead and put my head back down on this desk and keep it pushing.
Wow. And how about this one? And I guess you get your mentees out of schools. Is that the case, or do they come? How do you do your program? How do you?
Yeah. Great question. So the organization that I lead today is called Mentor Maryland, DC, and we're actually an indirect service provider. So I don't do as much direct service anymore, working directly with young people. I do more of that on my volunteer side now personally. But my organization, which is also in youth development and in the mentoring field, we actually work with mentors and mentoring program leaders to make sure that their programs are running with best practices to make sure that they're thinking about all the different things that will make their program run as best as possible for the young people that they serve. So we do now a lot of training with adults, really conversations that we're having like this right now. We would have this with a room full of mentoring program leaders or a group full of mentors to help them share experiences and work through essentially on their path to becoming a better mentor, which is actually the name of a new guidebook that was just released by our parent organization, Mentor National. But that's what it's all about, is like our work is really centered around helping people be better for young people.
As we come to a close, let's say, when what has this done for you personally? Ooh. And you alluded to that earlier. Ooh. Why? How are you a better? How are you a better person as a result of this?
In an immeasurable number of ways. What I can say, just as a couple that come top of my mind, and this first one is, as I share often, is being a mentor. It 1000% makes me a better father.
Love it.
Right. So oftentimes, my wife and I, we have a blended family. So we got 5 kids all together. So we got them all shapes and ages and sizes, man. 23 on down to 4. Everything in between. Boy. So when our older kids are frustrating my wife and I'm immediately transported back to being a mentor, because I'm like, man, I got to think of my feelings. I got to think of the advice. I got to think of like the scolding or the chastising I might give to my kids. And I'm like, man, if this is one of my mentees, I wouldn't be beating them up like this. I'd be way more understanding. But I'm like, these are my kids. So certainly there must be a different set of rules, right? Yeah. But there really shouldn't be. If you're thinking,
I love it,
developmentally and talking through decisions, right? Not jumping to conclusions, listening more, asking more questions. These are universal youth development principles, no matter if you're dealing with your own kid or somebody else's. But the challenge for parents is that we always think we know better for our own kids. But guess what? The same principles of being a great mentor, damn near, they're identical to being a great parent. All the stuff that I just named. So
I love it.
That's one of the biggest things. Is absolutely made me be a better parent. And then I would just say, just in general, being around young people, having kids, that keeps you young and youthful.
I love it.
Like understanding what they're going through and having empathy for being a young person in these days and times. It's so funny. Like the circle is always going like this. It's always moving. And what I mean by that is, like, for every, elder, what I'm saying? I'm talking like what I would call an elder. You're talking 50 on up, what I'm saying? Okay. And in full disclosure, I just turned 40 like 2 weeks ago, right? So I just left youth. In most cultures, 40 is when you are finally an adult.
Okay.
So I just left my youth. But what I would tell you is that for every elder who's like, man, these kids today could never have survived when we was growing up, man, having to walk everywhere. Wasn't no bus, it wasn't no Uber, wasn't no fast food. We ain't have nothing. We wasn't no malls.
Yeah, I got you.
But guess this, bro. Watch this though.
Watch.
Most of these elders could never survive being a young person today.
Even with all those comforts.
Well, not even all the comforts, but the constant scrutiny and pressure of social media and capitalism and consumerism and always having to try to keep up, and the anxiety and the stress. See, our elders grew up in a simpler time. You a little bit older than me, bro. You grew up in a simpler time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it might have been harder, but it was also simpler. But today it might be easier, but it's also harder. So my whole point is that this intergenerational thing, you only get that understanding by spending time with young people, bro. If not, then you always gonna be like, and it's my running joke, because every generation says it, from the rock and roll era, from Vietnam to the women's movement, burning bras, every older generation says the same thing about the generation a couple behind them. They always say what? This the worst generation we've seen yet.
Oh, no question.
Every single time.
No question.
every single time, and it's always a lie. It's always a lie. So those would probably be my two biggest
Yes.
ways about how I'm personally transformed.
I love it. What's the website and that kind of thing for so that hopefully as brothers in your area in Baltimore, DC, what have you, in the Maryland, decide to become mentors. What what website do you give them and that kind of thing, so we can close out on that note? Maybe we can get something to sign up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you can hit me personally or anyone from our team at Mentor, MENTOR MDDC.org. That's Mentor MDDC.org, and that's Mentor MDDC.org is also our handle on all social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Come holler at us, get with us, man.
Okay.
You will be transformed as much as a young person will be.
And I appreciate you doing this, brother. You have you've put it in layman's terms. You've explained it, my friend. And I know you did it because you know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You came up with concepts because you live it.
Yeah, appreciate
and
you.
You know what you're saying. Thank you so very much for doing this.
Much love, bro.
All right, peace.